The introduction to our story begins with a television showing a boy playing. A man narrates that every possession by a demon occurs during 3 stages. The first one is called the presence. It is when the demon begins to make its presence known to the host. The second stage is called the affliction. In this stage, the demon starts to inhabit the body of the host. It takes control of many of the host's faculties, and the infected begins to feel dirty. At this point, the boy on television is possessed, having an exorcism performed on him. In the third stage, the person finally surrenders to the demon. This stage is known as the ascent. After that educative introduction, we see a man welding something inside a garage. It is highly unusual because it involves a lifeless bird. The man is Joel, the protagonist. He seems troubled by something and has to take off his welding mask. He follows this by taking a pill. Joel briefly has a vision, seeing something that looks like it could be a demon. Luckily, the man returns to reality once a woman enters the garage. He greets her as Rhonda, who tells him not to be doing his own work on her time. Then she gives him $40 before telling him to leave. He asks if this is his payment for the whole day, making her ask if there are any customers there. Since there aren't any, Joel understands what she means. The next scene shows him riding a bike back home. We wonder if this means his job is close, or if he's struggling with money by not having a car. Eventually, he arrives home to his son, Mason. He carries the boy inside on his shoulder. In there, Joel greets a young lady named Cassie. She is Mason's babysitter, and Joel asks her how much money he owes her. It is $40 for the babysitting and $8 more for the groceries. We realize this is more than what he made at work today. It means that mentally, physically, and financially, it would have been better if he stayed home. So he takes out the $40 Rhonda gave him. But Cassie tells him he does not have to give her the other amount. He could consider it her treat. She looks at a few of the disturbing paintings on the wall. The face she wears after looking at them shows what she thinks. During dinner, Mason surprises his father by saying grace. Cassie taught him the words. The man seems to be slightly offended by this, saying he's the one who puts the food on the table. Mason wonders if this means he has to pray to his dad. Of course, the man says he does not. Interestingly, Joel is creating something right there at the dinner table. He doesn't even know what it is. He informs his son that many times artists don't know what they are creating until later. While the duo is there, our view gets taken to another part of the house. There is a strange doll there, swinging inside a cage. When Joel puts his son to sleep, he looks at a family photo near him. He says he misses his wife. Then he is alone in the washroom, experiencing visions again. He has auditory hallucinations as well to add to his discomfort. The man is forced to take another pill. His visions show us there is something involving a car accident and water. In the next scene, Joel occupies a room in his house that could be called his workshop. There he continues to create more macabre things. His work gets interrupted by a sound coming from above, which surprises him. Thus he enters Mason's room to check on the boy and finds his toy sitting oddly on the floor. Once he picks it up, it starts talking, but its voice fades to a lower tone near the end, indicating something is wrong with it. Elsewhere, we hear on the radio that a man named Father Lambert will be released from prison today. We learn he has served 3 years for being responsible for the demise of a named Edward Martin. The man on the radio says it wasn't just a failed exorcism, it was negligence. Due to this, he supports persecuting Lambert. Following this, we see the man in question walking with an officer out of a prison. Many protesters are behind the fence, wishing the priest an ill fate. Soon he gets released and enters the car of his associate, Brother Michael. When they start riding, the angry crowd chases the car. As they ride, Michael informs the priest that the congregation issued an indefinite suspension of Lambert's clerical duties. Plus, the Martins have issued a restraining order on him. During the ride, Lambert briefly perceives a strange creature. Then, we have Joel occupying his therapist's office. She is Dr. Maya, asking him if he's still seeing certain things. He says his medication made it better. He also shows the doctor a camera he now uses. If he sees something he's not sure is real, he takes a photo of it. She tells him his work at Rhonda's is not a job because he's not getting benefits working there. Additionally, he's getting paid below minimum wage. During this session, we learn Joel's wife is deceased. Switching to the churchmen, they enter Michael's house, and he brings in a box full of videotape. Lambert wants to get started looking through them. He knows it's going to be a long night. At Joel's house, the man calls his son to eat dinner, but the boy isn't coming, so he goes upstairs, where he sees Mason whispering to someone. He runs to his dad in a few seconds to tell him not to make someone angry. This strange behavior prompts Joel to enter Mason's room to observe what is going on in there. Soon the boy appears behind Joel to whisper that the individual is waiting. He describes him as a man who looks like a goat and walks like a dog. The next scene shows Joel working at his job. Rhonda approaches him, saying his money is on the table. When she leaves, he calls Maya to ask her if schizophrenia is hereditary. It's not very certain, says the doctor. Though there is a genetic compound, she is quick to ask if this is about Mason. Supposedly, her question brings discomfort to Joel because he ends the call without much thinking. Then he comes home to his son and Cassie. As they are about to eat dinner, Cassie shares the good news with him that she got accepted to a university. The problem is that it's in another state, meaning she won't babysit Mason anymore. Once she says this, Joel drops his cutleries in dissatisfaction. He says if he doesn't have a babysitter or a real income, the state will take his son away. To make the situation more upsetting, Cassie says today is her last day with him. Joel expresses his hatred for how sudden this is. After she says she's sorry, he bangs his fist on the table and says she isn't. To him, she is like everyone else, someone who leaves the moment a better opportunity arrives. Mason also yells, saying that she does not care. The difference is that for a split second, he sounded like a demon. Following this rough interaction, Cassie enters another room, and a chair abruptly moves to startle her. Shifting to the churchmen, we see them watching one of the videotapes. It displays the exorcism we saw at the start of the film. The priest performing it looks like he could be Lambert. He pauses the video to ask Michael if he's familiar with certain Latin words. But Michael is not. Lambert thinks the words are the lead to their next victim. He also says demons leave traces of their hunger. At Joel's house, the man walks past his son's room and hears loud noises coming from there. So he is forced to enter it to witness what it is. The room has become an instant mess, causing Joel to ask Mason if he did this. Of course, there is no way he could have done it. Mason points to his open closet, yet his dad says there is nothing there. Then he takes out the camera he showed to his doctor. He tells his son it shows them what is truly there. Thus Joel takes 2 photos of the open closet to prove to Mason that nothing is indeed there. Afterward, Joel occupies Maya's office and asks her if schizophrenic people see the same things. It is highly unlikely, the doctor replies. She also educates him that it's not necessarily schizophrenia that brings visions to people. Changing the topic, Joel shares the bad news of Cassie having left him. Maya reminds him he needs a babysitter for his son. It has to be someone with a proper tutoring certification. Therefore, Joel staying at home with Mason is not enough. His doctor gives him 1 week to find a babysitter. At night, Joel is at home with his son. When the boy mentions his mom protecting him, Joel says she isn't there, but Mason claims to see her. To us, this sounds like Mason could be seeing her ghost. To his father, though, the boy's words sound like something Mason just wishes was true. Subsequently, they go to Mason's room, where Joel finds articles on the floor. One of the articles shows the car accident that must have brought Joel's wife to her demise. The man asks his son where he got the articles from, and Mason says it wasn't him who brought them there. Then Cassie shows up at none other than Michael's house. Since she tells him she wants to talk about something, Michael invites her inside. The young lady starts informing him of how angry the man was at the place she had been babysitting for 2 years. It was like he was growling at her with his son. Cassie felt something that she cannot call ordinary anger. It was like the room went dark, she says. While she is talking, she soon notices Lambert standing to her left. After Michael introduces Lambert to her, the priest who got released from prison recently is curious to know who she is talking about. Michael informs the man who Joel is. In addition to how he lost his wife, we learn Joel never moved on from the tragedy. Cassie also tells them about the weird sculptures Joel creates. She asks if they can check on Joel and Mason for her. Later, we observe an evil face being formed in a cloud. The scene shifts to Joel lying in bed with his son. He sees disturbing images again. This prompts him to reach for his camera to take a photo of what's in front of him. Looking at the photo, he sees there is nothing on it. He also takes a pill. Once the man exits the room, we see a shadow move behind him. Then he occupies his workshop, where all of his grotesque creations exist. He looks through a book titled Shadow People. As he does, the keywords supernatural, paralysis, plus schizophrenia are seen on its pages. Following appropriately from this book, he perceives a shadow moving in front of him. So he walks there with his camera to take a photo and hears a ghostly whisper. Upstairs, Joel sees a very unusual being. After he struggles to take a photo of it, the being runs through the house, causing the photos on the wall to shake. In a short while, it enters Mason's room and shuts the door. Switching to the churchmen, Lambert tells Michael the cryptic statement that the cosmic lord of demise seeks a new battleground. To simplify it, he says a being named Abaddon awaits. When they are sitting in their car, Lambert says he senses they are getting close. Upon approaching such evil, part of the soul withers, he adds. The essence of evil has attached itself to him. Soon the duo arrives at Joel's house. Michael knocks on the door, asking if anyone is there. We observe Joel lying inside, experiencing painful visions. The moment Michael sees him fall downstairs, he breaks through the front door. In the next scene, Joel wakes up and asks the people in his house who they are. He learns from Lambert that his son is sleeping, but is unresponsive. Seeing the unsettling sculptures and paintings, Lambert says Joel's place is like a breeding ground for negative energies. Once Joel starts going to his son, Lambert recites a passage from the Bible. He says rejoicing in the darkness shall make one appear before his horns. In Mason's room, Joel holds his son and tries talking to him. Alas, the boy does not respond. Scared, Joel demands to know what is happening. All Lambert says is they have much to talk about. Afterward, the churchmen observe the photos Joel took. Lambert informs Joel that the latter has been marked by a demon who is not ordinary. One of his names is Abaddon. Some even call him Satan himself. Lambert says there is only one way to purge this demon, for Joel to have faith in their God. He also wants Joel to know that the devil makes the sane insane and vice versa. They don't see him coming because they don't know who he is. His grip on people's souls can be so deep that the single way out is through an exorcism. Hearing the scary word at the end prompts Joel to repeat it. Lambert wants Joel to give him 18 hours to banish the demon. He advises the man to take this help or forever risk damnation. Then another official from the church arrives. The churchmen greet her as Dr. Hawkins. The next scene shows her inspecting Joel. However, he would rather she use this time to inspect his son instead. Thus, she soon checks on the boy and reports he is fine medically. His sole condition is that he's in a deep sleep. She listens to him with her stethoscope to hear strange voices. When she tells the others about it, Michael says it is the third sign. Subsequently, Lambert educates Joel about there being 6 classic signs of possession. After the priest goes over them, Joel thinks Mason has none of the signs. Out of nowhere, the lamps start dimming on their own and Mason appears in the room. Joel directs himself to his son, but the boy vanishes. At this moment, Michael tells them to come upstairs due to Mason being awake. Up there, the boy is sitting while speaking Latin. He lashes out at his dad, which makes the others rescue him from his possessed son. At a different time, Joel says he believes them, yet he is unsure if can trust them. Lambert wants the doubting man to know he has seen the work of Abaddon. Attempting to hammer in what he knows, Lambert suddenly puts his hand over Joel's mouth and nose, telling him to imagine that he's drowning. He says other horrifying things that happen to someone during possession. Then he lets go of Joel, saying God does not abandon, but the devil will take. This talk convinces Joel to trust them. However, he warns the priest that if anything happens to Mason, God won't save Lambert from Joel. Since they have Joel's acceptance, Lambert instructs Mitchell on all the supplies he should retrieve for their exorcism. Following this, we witness Joel restraining his son, who is behaving very disturbingly. His voice is that of a demon and his eyes move about unnaturally. Seeing it can easily curse one with nightmares. Meanwhile, Lambert prays downstairs. As the demon speaks through the boy, Joel tells him he isn't Mason. When he starts walking away, Mason calls out to his dad in his normal voice. He wants the man to stay by his side. Turning around, Joel becomes trapped by experiencing horrific images again. Lambert has to grip him back to reality, telling him his greatest weapon now is faith. Joel cannot hold himself from breaking into tears. Later, Lambert assures Joel he will fight with his life for the latter's salvation. Joel claims to not care about himself. It's his son he does not want to lose. He is curious to know what a possessed person experiences in their lost state of mind. Lambert enlightens him of the initial stage of the phenomenon, saying it starts with something simple like a Babel in the head, disguised as knowledge. It unravels with the possessed person trying to look for proof that God does not exist. The helpless individual is unaware that they are being possessed until it is too late. Additionally, Lambert wants him to understand that demons work in shadows. They hide and become familiar with the life of the one they possess. Many times, one cannot differentiate what is real from what is under the devil's influence. After a few more exchanges, Lambert says it is time. He asks Joel if he is ready for the exorcism, and the man tells him he is. Interestingly, he calls Lambert father for the first time, indicating he is heading towards his faith. Therefore, the group ascends to the second floor. Looking at the possessed boy, Joel asks if he can reason with the demon, a statement Lambert objects to. Reasoning won't work. for the demon has neither desires nor needs. If Joel wants to help, he should keep his prayer close at all times. Once the trio enters the room, Joel waits outside, looking through the keyhole. He watches as Lambert starts reading from the Bible and splashing holy water on Mason. He has a hard time watching the exorcism, so he falls back. Then he sees his camera lying on the floor. Collecting it, he enters a room where he saw a lamp shake. The moment he snaps his camera, he sees a grotesque being appear briefly. It appears a second time to scare the man to the floor. With its third appearance, Joel is forced to start walking back. His mind is in disarray as he is doing it. He soon sits near his son's room and keeps experiencing visions he wishes he did not. Joel also hears the forceful words of Lambert yelling at the demon to be cast out. Looking through the keyhole, he witnesses them perform their serious duty. Unfortunately, he gets to see how the demon sprays Michael with a certain liquid. It causes him to exit the room. Afterward, they are at a resting point. Joel asks Hawkins if exorcisms are legal. She says the First Amendment protects religious liberty, but it does not sanction intentional. She is there to make sure no occurs. She believes possession stems from guilt. She mentions other conditions that could bring it into existence. One of them is schizophrenia, which gets Joel's attention. She says it's a condition that historically was confused with demonic possession. Hawkins also informs him of their knowledge of Joel's schizophrenia. If Mason has the same disorder, it still does not explain the voice she heard inside of him. Then she brings up the word alatriophagy, a symptom of vomiting things that should not be in the body, though she assures Joel his son is not currently afflicted with it. In the next scene, Joel is hanging clothes outside. Maya suddenly startles him with her presence. The reason she is there is to check on his son. Not knowing how to get out of this, Joel resorts to telling her the truth that Mason is with a priest. He also says the boy is unresponsive, and there is a doctor present alongside the priest. But when he says the scary word exorcism, Maya tells him he is destroying everything they worked for. Thus, the duo enters his house for the doctor to engage in her obligatory check. She instantly hears the unsettling sounds coming from above. Going there, she tries to enter Mason's room. Maya bangs on it and demands it to be open. She wants to call the police, yet Joel tells her practicing his religion is legal. In his situation, it isn't, says Maya. This prompts him to plead with her to give him some time. To grant him this privilege, she demands to talk to the priest, or she will call an assortment of agencies that deal with matters such as the one currently taking place. After she leaves to check on his pills, Joel hears a voice. Someone tells him to come back to them. Soon, another grotesque being comes out of a room to scare him. It vanishes once the trio of exorcists exit Mason's room. We witness Michael vomit what looks like his life fluid. Then Joel tells Lambert his doctor is there, wanting to talk to the priest. At this moment, we see the injuries Lambert collected while performing the exorcism. He tells Joel he currently can't engage in this matter. He also informs Joel it is time for the ascent. Whatever happens now will be forever. Following this, we watch Maya enter Mason's room with no one to stop her. She sees the possessed boy sitting under a blanket and kneels to say she got him. Subsequently, Lambert tells Joel he won't rest until he abolishes the demon. Joel replies that Lambert is the first person he trusts to take care of his son. Afterward, Joel locates Maya, who is holding the photos he took. She dismissively tosses them on the floor. He tells her she hasn't seen what he has, but the doctor continues to behave angrily by tossing his medication near him. She follows this by touching his head in a way a therapist shouldn't, asking if he remembers the time she spoke about making choices. When she says he can vanquish this by making a choice, he becomes confused and asks her what choice. Then an image of a grotesque being appears near him. The being says it tried to warn him. However, Maya turns his head away from it, asking the man if he trusts her. After he says he's very tired, he falls into her. The doctor soothingly asks if he can surrender to her, and he nods his head absent-mindedly. At this point, we can easily see that Maya is not behaving like herself. She has shifted to being a menacing force. She wants him to say that he has surrendered one more time, for he has to mean it. So Joel complies with her. Since he does, he gets many more disturbing images. Switching to Lambert, he says it's over and Joel wakes up. He leaves the room, calling out to Maya. Entering Mason's room, he removes the blanket on the bed to reveal something inexplicable. A lifeless or nearly lifeless version of himself lies on the bed. This prompts him to call out to Lambert. He searches around his house, only to find no one. Soon he remembers the words Lambert told him about how the Babel appears in a person's head, disguised as knowledge. He also remembers the other things Lambert told him that have to do with being possessed. Once the memories end, he falls to the floor. Then Maya enters to tell Joel that reality blinds those who merely see what they want. The eyes are useless when the mind is blind. At this moment, we see she has one white eye. She also says the priest thought the exorcism would save Joel, but it just brought him closer to her. She questions if he was so blinded by his imperfection that he believed his son was afflicted. Joel heard voices calling out to him during the exorcism, yet he paid no attention to them. We learn from the demonic woman that Joel built his house and his mind with his darkness. This is why she chose him. Furthermore, she says Mason will make his own choice in time, and they will be waiting for him. Afterward, we hear the 3 stages of possession again. As the stages are being talked about, we witness Joel suffering through them. We also see him leaving Maya's office from an earlier time with a chilling modification. The place is empty and probably always was. To complement this, Lambert's statement about how the devil makes the sane insane, in addition to the inverse, gets repeated. 10 years later, an older Mason sits on his bed, looking at his family photo. Soon a woman enters to say she knows how hard it has been after all these years. However, she believes he is making great progress. The boy says he misses his dad sometime, comforting him. She says letting go does not mean he has to forget. It simply means it's time to move on. Once she leaves, he opens a box that has his toy inside and puts the family photo in there. It still has the distorted voice at the end. Then we see the grotesque being appearing near Mason.